friends. I hope all of you are doing exceptionally well. It is your friendly executive cat herder, Marissa Friedman, founder of Strategy Solved. I am jumping on because we've just had so much fun over the past few weeks. I can't even begin to tell you what happens when you have extreme clarity about what your gift and your purpose is. And I think as I start to look up kind of, the topics for tonight, I really wanted to focus on coming from a place of growth and expansion. And I think it's all kind of coming together for me. For a very long time, I was incredibly insecure about my place in the market. And I think what I've learned, contrary to probably what many people are going to say, is that my home city has never been my primary market and it never will be. Partly because of just the disrespectful kind of nature of how people have these expectations of what you should be doing or what you could be doing. And also, I just feel like the entitlement is so rampant in the city of San Diego. And the more people that I talk to that work out of market like myself, we just look at San Diego as just this odd kind of anomaly. And so I think what's great about that is getting the opportunity to release kind of this. I don't want to call it a grudge, but just kind of this idea that, like, no matter what I did, no matter what success I got out of the market, it didn't matter unless I was respected here. And what's great about expansion and what's phenomenal about getting to work with incredible entrepreneurs in Florida, Texas, Utah, Arizona, New York is that outside of the market, it is so much bigger than our small bubble here. And I get to give back, and I get to give back in a way that I want to when I'm here, while I'm here. And I get to be connected to causes and to people that I want to be intentionally connected to. And everything else is just pomp and circumstance. And so that feels really, really good to be able to say that out loud. And, I don't care if you like me or not. I don't care if you agree with me or you disagree with me. I think the beauty of the work that I've gotten to do over the past couple years and, even during the stroke is really finding out who I was and who I wanted to be around me. So that being said, I've really thought about how I can give back in a very specific and curated way. And so before, I just used to do kind of a general office hours, and now I figured that I would just make it platform specific. So what I've often seen is people will say, "Hey, I want to pick your brain. Hey, I want to ask you these questions." That's always around building their brands and their businesses. And so if I'm giving someone direct feedback on something, I'm happy to help people. I also am happy to set a boundary, right? And so here's the boundaries, right? You can apply for the Connect All Accelerator that's at the Jacobs Center. Phenomenal. They're accepting applications year round. I have other accelerators and incubators that I help with that are out of state as well. Or we're going to do Tuesdays on TikTok, Wednesdays on Wisdom, and then we're going to do some Wildcard stuff on Sundays on Instagram. So we are going to have a place where people can essentially apply, ask their questions. We'll let you know what day we're going to ask your questions so you can jump on and watch and participate, or you can watch the replay. But that's how we're going to be giving back. I think as a female entrepreneur as well, I think we spend so much time trying to people please and be agreeable. And I was reminded of something that actually in the comments, you'll see that I put the link to Wisdom, but something that happened to me while I was in corporate. I started going through my performance reviews and I started looking at how I was being judged and evaluated. And would it surprise you to know that people were not judging my performance, but judging my personality? I have one performance review that basically indicates that I was exceeding expectations in all areas and job. And in the comments, I wasn't as agreeable. Now, mind you, my job was to provide data analysis and risk. I wasn't agreeable. I needed to smile more, and in general, I should make more friends. And as I reflect back on that, as I turn 40 in June, I think to myself, who was this middle-aged dude to tell me that I needed to make friends at work? I have real friends, right? Like, I don't subscribe to this idea that, like, I have to have everyone in the office be my friend. I think it can be great in some situations, but anytime that I hear that a company treats each other like family, I'm always like, "Oh, so there's some good dysfunction." Right? So I looked at that and I went, "Wow, I exceeded the expectations of my job. I drove results, I drove revenue, I drove productivity, I drove efficiency. But because I didn't smile, right, it wasn't enough." And so I'm releasing all that stuff. So I'm releasing this idea that I have to be available to whomever, whenever in the city of San Diego because someone has decided that they want me to give them free time. It's not a thing. I will decide who I want to give time to. I will decide who I want to give that time to. And if you want my time, there are 4 different ways that I've just listed that you can do it. You can subscribe to our website. You'll be able to ask questions in a portal. Those questions we pull at random and we'll answer on those lives. But those lives will be on LinkedIn, they'll be on TikTok, they'll be on Instagram, and they'll be on Wisdom. And and I just think, like, the revelation of being able to say that out loud is just like, whoosh, right? You can imagine, by the way, that being a young woman in business and kind of learning your footing and coming from a culture of politeness, someone telling you that, like, "Hey, you're crushing it at everything, except you're not smiling." What? Like, and I think back to all the bosses that I had that kept getting raises and promotions and stock options. They weren't the nicest, charismatic people, right? And I think back on that and I think, I have to release this idea that everyone's gonna like me. I have to release this idea that I'm disappointing anybody. And if someone has a problem with the way that I've chosen to give back on my terms, then that's a them thing, not a me thing. And the beauty of that is being able to say without hesitation that I am so happy to give back to people that want it. You just have to show up in the way that I'm showing you if you want that expertise. Um, because I've respected myself and I'm putting myself first for the first time in more than 6 years, and I'm setting a boundary. And it's often when you set the boundary that you learn who has been comfortable trampling all over it. So, those are some pretty big revelations, not just for me, but for the business. And to be able to say, hey, this is how I'm going to show up. This is how I'm going to show up for my fellow entrepreneurs, my fellow women, my Latinas, my Pacific Islanders. Like, this is how I'm going to show up. And my hope is that if you're in a city, not just San Diego, if you're in LA, if you're in wherever, Austin, right? If you're in cities where you feel like you're not being heard or appreciated or being marginalized, go to another city because I guarantee you, you'll be seen. And that's what I noticed is that for 3 years I was on the road. I was a speaker for a large company and I got to go to different states and cities and places and I got to show up in those states and cities and places and be admired and be respected and be taken seriously, and that's what I did. And it wasn't until like 4 years in when people started going, "Hey, like you're in San Diego, we should hang out or we should connect." And all of a sudden people paid attention to me. And now it's really like, okay, like I'm here, what is it you want from me? And what I've learned is that, my home city is my home city. I love living here. I love being able to be of service. I just can't run a successful business and have the impact that I want to if I give everything away for free. I think that's a hard thing to say out loud. It's a hard thing to know that people are going to have judgment about it. But honestly, I don't care. I've done a lot of caring about what other people think of me for a very long time. And if you're watching this and you feel as an entrepreneur, you're giving and giving and giving, and you're not getting that ROI of that gift, stop. Refocus yourself, recenter yourself, draft a new business plan, include time to give back, right? I've just said I'm giving back in 4 very specific ways. If you want the times that I'm giving back on those channels, access to that page to ask questions, feel free to drop a comment in the chat and I'll send it to you. If you subscribe to our newsletter, we're going to put that newsletter out on Monday and have the very specific instructions on how to do that, how to submit the questions, submit the question details so that we can answer it fully for you. But that's what we're choosing to do, and we feel great about it. And I think the fear fear of like, "Oh, I don't wanna come across as disagreeable." No, not that. I'm not interested in that. And my hope is that if you've been someone that is in the same boat and people are just taking up your time and not being respectful to you and expecting you to do things for them and not doing for themselves what they could do. They're not taking the advice, they just want you to do it for them. That you finally have the guts to say, "Hey, this sounds like a great opportunity for a paid strategy call." Charge people. Because the one thing I've learned is the minute I started charging more, people's respect grew for me. As crazy as that sounds, right? Suddenly, I wasn't just this person where people could just bend to my ear and pick my brain all the time. So I hope all of you have a wonderful evening. I'm very excited. Tomorrow is my daughter's birthday, so I will be taking time off to be with her. But I hope all of you have a wonderful night. If you are interested in getting access to those office hours, please subscribe to the newsletter or comment, and we'll get you dialed in. With that, have a great night.